What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and today we're going to be a little bit more negative than we normally are. Today we're going to talk about the bad things of Call of Duty World War II. Not because I hate the game or anything like that, because I want it to improve, and it's very, very clear that Sledgehammer is listening to the feedback that they're not only getting on YouTube, but that the general audience is giving them. So, what I'm going to do is down in the description, I'm going to leave a link where you guys can leave feedback for Sledgehammer games to see, and based on the feedback that you guys give them, they will be able to change the game for the better. And today, I'm going to talk about 6 to 7 things that I think they could easily change to make the game that much better. But before we get into the negative stuff, this is what I want to say about the game as a whole, because overall I really haven't given my full personal opinion on what I fully think of the beta. And what I will say about Call of Duty World War II, it is the most fun I have had playing a Call of Duty game, probably since I picked up Black Ops 3 for the very first time. And that's really, really exciting for me, because we haven't even started playing the fully released game. We've only played a beta, so I am really excited not only for this weekend coming up to play the beta a lot more, but more specifically for the full release of the game. And everything that I'm going to talk about today is very, very minor compared to the problems we've seen in previous Call of Duty games and things that are totally going to break the game. So I'm really excited for that. Now, everything I'm going to talk about today is very minor, very small, and I'm not trying to complain. Like I said, I'm trying to improve the game for the better. So the first thing is probably one of the most simple things on this list, and that is the loading times in the game, specifically the loading times of the end of the game. So when the game finishes, you get out of it, you see the score screen, that kind of stuff. Getting back into the menu to be able to change your classes and that kind of stuff takes so long and cuts into the next game's lobby. Now, they did try to fix this a little bit with Saturday's update. I don't think they fully did as well as they could with that, and I get why it takes so long. If you look at the game lobby in Call of Duty World War II compared to Black Ops 3, compared to Infinite Warfare, it is so much more detailed than any of those other games. There's literally player models, there's people holding weapons and that kind of stuff, so they need to load all of that. But at the same time, if it cuts into the flow of the game, that's a problem and something they need to deal with. And speaking of the lobbies, one other very, very small issue is the way that friends join lobbies. So they have a nice social tab and it's easy to join your friend's game, which I like. The only problem is there's no telling you when someone is in your lobby. In previous Call of Duty games, we have the list of players who are in the lobby, and you can see that the person right underneath you in the exact same color as you is your friend who has joined your party. However, in this game, since it's kind of like I said, there is the player models and you can see all of that, it's much more difficult to tell when you actually have a friend in the lobby or not. And really, the easiest way to fix this is, I think, would be adding a list of players in the top right corner. That's the list of people who are in your party. I think that would be the most simple way of actually fixing that. If not, I don't know, just making it somehow more obvious that people actually joined into your game. After that, we got shell shock. So this is a thing I've seen many people complain about in the comments of my videos, in the comments of other people's videos. And basically, if you don't already know, what shell shock is if a grenade lands near you but doesn't do damage to you, including if it's your teammate's grenade, it will kind of shell shock you. Your mini-map will disappear, you'll kind of be stunned as if you got hit by a concussion or a flash grenade. And I get why they added this in. It's one of those things that just ups the realism and really makes you feel like you're in the war. The problem is, if you're playing an objective like Hardpoint or even Domination and you're trying to capture that objective, your teammates are going to be hucking grenades onto that objective like there is no tomorrow to stop the enemies from going on there. And if you're one of those people who play the objectives, you are going to be constantly stunned, and it makes it a million times harder to aim and actually kill people, to the point where it doesn't make you feel like you're in war, it just pisses you off. Now, I think one of the issues with this is that there is only actually one way of countering shell shock, and that's by using the Armored Division. And the Armored Division isn't by any means one of the fan favorite divisions. I think a lot of people really like the Airborne Division for that faster sprint time, or the Infantry Division for using extra attachments. The Armored Division just isn't really a fan favorite, even though it's a really good division because it doesn't only counter shell shock, but also any sort of fire or explosion damage. And I think eventually a lot more people will use that Armored Division in objective game modes. However, I don't think that should be the only way to counter it. I think there definitely should be some sort of basic training or something along those lines to counter that shell shock. Not to mention, I don't really think your teammates should be able to shell shock you. And I get that they're going for realisticness with that. If you were in the war and someone on your side threw a grenade anywhere near you, you're gonna get shell shocked. I get that, but this is a video game. We're not going for realisticness, we're going for a good gameplay experience. And if you have to risk that little bit of realisticness just to have a little bit better of a game, I think that's completely understandable. And even though I am complaining about this, I think it's a really cool feature, and I think enemies should 100% be able to shell shock you, just not your own teammates. And speaking of realisticness, the next thing I want to talk about is weapon balance. Weapon balance is something that I don't think is completely perfected yet in this game. That being said, we are only in a beta. I think the SMGs, shotguns, and sniper rifles are very good. In fact, I think the SMGs are the best class of weapons in the game. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, that could be because most of the maps that we're currently playing are very close quarters, but it could also be because they're just really damn good. The PPSH and the waffle gun are ridiculously good and kill people extremely quickly compared to assault rifles and LMGs. And I think they need to do one of two things. Give the PPSH and the waffle a little bit of a nerf, or give assault rifles and LMGs a little bit of a buff. And I think they can do this in two ways. If they're giving the assault rifles a buff, I think they can improve the sprint out time and the aim down sights time. If they're giving the SMGs a little bit of a nerf, I think what they could do is either reduce the range on them, or I think what would be even better is adding just a slight amount of recoil to them to make them a little bit more difficult to use. As far as the LMG goes, as of right now, the LMG class of weapons is, in my opinion, absolutely useless. They have about the same damage profiles and fire rates as the assault rifles, but they have a slower aim down sights time, slower sprint out time, slower reload time, and overall just can't compare with the other weapons in the game. Now, I think there's a couple ways to improve this. First of all, they could increase the magazine size, even though that's not historically accurate. If they don't want to do that, up the damage profile, up the fire rate, or make it so somehow their attachments do much more to those weapons than they do to other weapons. But there's many ways you can buff the LMGs, because as of right now, they just can't compete with the other weapons in the game. But as far as that goes, I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about weapon balance. Do you think one class of weapons is way better than the others? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Feel free to let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know what you like and what you don't like about the beta down in the comments below. I'll be reading all of the comments, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Another thing I've heard people complain about is the division and the lack of customizations you have because of divisions. In the past, we've had the pick 10 system, which I think generally most people really enjoyed. Now, the thing with the pick 10 system is it's completely customizable. If you wanted a class where you stay off the radar and can sneak around, you could make that class. If you wanted a class where you could sneak around but also not be damaged by explosives, you could also have that. Whereas in Call of Duty World War II, they have these divisions which kind of hunker you down into one specific kind of class. And what I mean by that is if you're using the airborne division, you're going to be able to run around very quickly, but you're going to be exposed to explosives and flame damage. If you're using the armored class, you're going to be not able to run around as quick, but you're going to be protected from explosives, flame damage, and shell shock. So there's trade-offs, right? But the problem, I think, is that the basic training skills are not nearly as good as the division skills. So an easy way to fix this, and I am not the first person to come up with this, I believe I saw this on the Call of Duty Reddit, is to create a wildcard basic training perk, where you could basically take any sort of skill from any of the division class. Just one though. So for example, I would be using the armored division, but I could also take from the airborne division the increased sprint speed, therefore be able to run faster and at the same time not be exposed to explosives. And I really like that. I think that perk should actually be in the game. And the reason why I think this is such an elegant solution is because you keep the idea of a division. You keep the idea of being hunkered down into one sort of play style, but at the same time you can adapt a single trait from another division, whether that be being protected from explosives, or whether that be sprinting fast, or using an extra attachment. Whatever it is, you would still be able to choose that while still being attached to a single division. And I really like that idea. And finally, score streaks. So we don't have all of the score streaks in the beta. It's undeniable, you can't argue that. But the score streaks we do have are either, in my opinion, too weak or take too much score to get for the amount of kills that they get you. Now, I have two ways to fix this. Way number one to fix this is simply make the score streaks better or decrease the amount of score it takes to get them. Kind of like what they're doing with the paratroopers. If you don't already know, they put out the patch notes for what's going to be happening this weekend in the beta, and one of the things that they did is decrease the amount of score it takes to get the paratroopers, and also gave them a little bit more armor, so they should be a little bit better. I think they could do this with kind of many of the score streaks, either decrease the amount of score or make them a little bit better. However, the problem I have with the score streaks in this game is they simply just don't feel as rewarding as I think they have in other Call of Duty games. Now, what makes a kill streak or score streak feel rewarding is one of two things. Either it helps you earn another score streak, or you get a ton of kills with it. And as of right now, I don't think any of the score streaks you can really get a ton of kills with. So another thing that they could do to fix this is increase the amount of score you get from kills from score streaks. For example, if I throw a Molotov grenade or cocktail, whatever you want to call it, it's going to get a kill and it gives me 25 score. If we increase that amount of score, I wouldn't say to 100, but to 50, all of a sudden that score streak is going to help me earn my next score streak a lot better. So by increasing the amount of score you get from with a score streak from 25 to 50, I think is another way to make the score streaks feel more rewarding and make you feel better. Now, the opposing side to that is, does that make score streaks too spammy? Is it going to be too easy to get score streaks at that point? And with that, I am not 100% sure. That's something you can let me know what you think about down in the comments below. So guys, feel free down in the comments to let me know what you like, what you don't like about the World War II beta. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, feel free to let me know all down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, it would be very much appreciated if you could hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button as I upload new Call of Duty videos every single day of the week. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.